Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Well, you know, Jen, we've been doing this now. We're completing the 7th year.
Coming up on 8 in January, right?
8 January. Well, our show on January 2nd is not going to be here, but on January 9th, we will actually
We'll have to celebrate
8 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's awesome.
It's
It's really great, yeah. Radio is a little, unstable to say the least at some points. So it's nice
So
that
am
you
I.
have longevity. Well, maybe that's what works. we're unstable all around us.
You got to be a little quirky to be a host.
That's true. And you're full of quirk. And then some.
Oh God.
Well, congrats. That's a great milestone.
Thanks. So our show is Ask Brien. It's ASKBRIEN. Everybody asks us why we spell it that way. But before we get in, I just want everybody to understand our show is to try to help business owners, either a founder or creator who's actually started something from scratch and created his own business or her own business, or sometimes we'll have somebody that's an expert in a specific category. Could be anywhere from human resources to SEO to advertising on TikTok or anything else, or counting inventory. Could be anything, but that's what we try to do. But everybody wants to know why Brien is spelled with an E. My name is Peter, and we'll get into a story sometime about why it's called Ask Brien, but Brien is spelled Brien, and we have our resident expert, Traci, who's going to try to explain why Brien is spelled with an E and not Brian or Bryn like we learned in school. So, Traci?
Well, I think we should just go ahead and give the spoiler alert that it's because you couldn't get the domain with it spelled with an I or a Y.
But that doesn't mean why I couldn't do Bryn or Brian.
No, because, we're all about building brands around here. And, BlackBerry was always known as a fruit until it became a phone. So Brian was always spelled with a Y before it was known to be spelled with an E. So
not if you're Irish. Not if you're Irish.
Well, that's true too, but that's O'Brien. So, and you just try to work in a pub whenever you can. I know you that way.
Well, that's why I just got here.
It smells like a pub in here, yeah.
I bet it. Yeah. I know.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
I was going to keep that on. I was going to keep that on the download, Jen. But now that you've let the cat out of the bag.
And I have some ping pong balls, and I also have some quarters, so we're ready to go.
I mean, it's the holiday season, so I was going to let it slide. But anyway, I digress. We have so many amazing reasons that our Brian is spelled with an E, and that starts always every episode, every show with our engineer, Jen. Yay, Jen.
Hey, thank you.
Because you are extraordinary, and Peter would never stay in line in any way, shape, or form if it wasn't for you.
I'm not in line.
No, it takes a certain personality to put up with this. So,
well,
I mean, to get to hang around, Peter.
And I'm an expert in sarcasm too,
Yes, you are. And she has control over your mute button, so that's why she knows how to keep you in line. So
and
don't make us use it.
Mute has an E in it too,
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it does, and it should actually start with an E if we could fit it in that way.
It's probably a new app.
But no, and outside of our engineer, who, by the way, like I said, is extraordinary, I'm just going to throw that in there, it's all about our experts on the Ask Brien radio show today, and boy, do we have a good one. I just can't wait for us to meet our expert today, and we really take the education around here very seriously, and that's why we bring in our experts. And if you do any kind of research anywhere around building your expertise, it's based on around 10,000 hours in your industry-specific niche or your business. And most of our experts, I think really exclusively, all of them have way more than 10,000 hours in their area of expertise. But if you wanted to know how to get there mathematically speaking, because Peter likes to challenge me that way, that's an average of 40 hours a week over the course of 50-ish weeks a year, which would take you approximately 5 years. But our experts will be the first to tell you that starting a business and running a business usually exceeds 40 hours very quickly, especially in the first few years. So it's looking more like a 3-year scope for our experts anyway. And with that, and always talking and focus on education, always focus on expertise, we also get pretty enthusiastic around here, especially this time of year. Right, Peter?
And don't forget, excitement!
Okay, that's when we need the mute button.
I know.
Right then.
Maybe he'll
right
pull a
there.
muscle next
No,
time.
I'm going to call it the Sam Kinsian one, the screamer.
Okay, you can call it whatever you want. I call it obnoxious.
There's no E in obnoxious, so you'll have to go to another word.
There's not. And if I could
How
have
about egregious? How about egregious?
Yeah, maybe. Okay. So, okay. And, right now, I'm just not feeling that you have any empathy. Do you even really understand what empathy means?
No, but I do know what ego is.
Yes, I bet you do. And did yours fit? Yours must have fit through the studio door, but I saw some construction people around there last week, and I think they might have been widening the door for you.
Well, yes, and they need an elevator, too.
Yes, they do, just for your ego. You can take the steps, but your ego has to find the elevator. Okay, we're having way too much fun, and we haven't even brought in our expert yet. So what are we missing, Peter?
Well, first of all, we are an education show, correct? Education?
Yeah, I've only mentioned that like 3 times.
You haven't used the word education. All right.
Yeah, we've used the word education 3 times already. Yes, I counted.
Experienced, okay.
Experience, yes.
And you have a lot of experience in the E's. But because we do have a great guest and we do want to get going here, we're going to use Traci's last one, which is, what do they say about Grease Lightning on that movie? Grease Lightning is what?
Oh my God, you're not going to believe this, but I forgot.
Electrifying!
How is that possible? I missed 1 week and I forgot my favorite E. Electrifying, and so are we.
No worries. The neurologist is around the corner.
I did not hit the fruit punch before I came on the air, I promise.
Next time, come to the pub with me.
Yeah.
All right. So, without any further ado, ADIEU, and it only has one consonant, our guest is going, what did I get into? How did they drag me in here? And had I known, I wouldn't be here. But if he's still here, Andrew, are you there?
I am here. Good to be here.
All right. You can tell we kind of like to have, even though it's a business serious show, we kind of like to have a little fun. And there is no E in fun, but we are very grateful to have you here, and we want to go a little bit. First, I want you to explain to the audience a little bit about your background, then we're going to get right into your company. But a little bit of your background so people know who you are, just a couple minutes, and then we can go on from there.
Yeah. So I was a high-tech guy, and on 9/11/2001, and I was just reminiscing about this just recently about sort of my journey into what I do today, where I found myself on ground zero a few days after the World Trade Center incident, helping first responders, EMS, firefighters, and working back-to-back with tradespeople. And you talk about life-changing events. Being an IT guy and working back-to-back and trying to find survivors on site on ground zero was just, an amazing situation just sort of to be in. And it changed everything for me because I quit my job in IT, and it ended up forming a business called ToolFetch with my brother, where we help the skilled trades to get them what they want, when they want, and where they want, so they don't have to spend the resources chasing it. And been advocating for the skilled trades for the last 24 years, trying to make sure that they're recognized, make sure we get the next generation into the trades. And it's just been a journey over the last 23 and a half, 24 years.
So what is your definition of trades? Because, I'm an attorney and an accountant. Are those trades? I mean, what exactly are you classifying as a trade?
So your trades are your electricians, your welders, your carpenters, anybody in the blue-collar skilled trades.
Okay. And don't these trades generally have unions?
They do. Some people are union, some are in non-union or open shops. So depending which route that you take or your journey in the trade, some people are business owners, some individuals work for companies, some of them are union.
So the reason why I brought that up is because you're kind of advocating for the blue collar trades group, and I was just thinking that probably unions also are actually doing something similar. So how are you different than in advocating for this group versus what the unions do for these groups?
Each association or union are doing their own things. I am out there on social media every single day, whether it's LinkedIn, TikTok, YouTube, my own podcast called The Lost Art of the Skilled Trades, where I bring on tradespeople and associations. I bring educators onto the podcast, and I speak about issues in the trades, how to get the next generation into the trades. So it's all about being visible, and especially on social media. So I just try to show up every single day on any single platform just to get the message out there and advocate. And I also speak on stage as well across the country.
So how close to 2001, September 11th, did you start this, the company that you currently have?
It was in 2001. So it was literally right after the World Trade Center incident, really just, a handful of months where I said, I'm going down the wrong path and I want to, see if I can help the people in the skilled trades. And that was my way back then to help the men and women in the skilled trades, providing them sort of the tools and equipment they need to fix and build.
Did you start this company on your own, or did you have other people?
So it was my brother and I, the two crazy entrepreneurs. I was about 23 at the time. And I was like, I think for me, I was always entrepreneurial. My brother was always entrepreneurial. My father had his own business. Like, it was just in our blood, in our DNA. And I went head first right into it. It was super exciting, but also a little bit scary as well.
So you were working at the time when you started this company, so you just quit your job and said, I'm going to start, or did you try to start the company while you were working to try to make sure you could pay your food bills, etc.?
No, I had a belief, and I made a commitment after 9/11 because of what I saw that, like, really just had that aha moment, like slid my 2 weeks notice over the company that I was working for. And I just went right into it. And maybe that was obviously risky, but I believed in myself. My brother believed in in what we were doing. And we just went for it. And 24 years later, we're still trucking along. We still love the business, and I love helping people in the trades.
And what is the name of your company?
Tool Fetch.
And did you? Back then they didn't even have the iPhone back then. So what was your when you started the company? All right, how did you get your first customers?
Online. So my brother and I built our first website. So that was back in 2001. We were speaking about, like, phones. Like, people didn't understand the whole thing. Like, you can buy a $3,000 cement mixer online. I'm like, yeah, you can. And it took a little bit of time to people get used to shopping online, because back then it wasn't obviously the first thing you did like you do today. But it was all about, we were doing some advertising, we were doing some basic stuff like email blasts, that type of stuff, word of mouth, making phone calls, cold calling, whatever we can do to sort of get our name out there. So we kind of hit the ground running.
And so, what do you do for tradespeople? I mean, is it a membership organization that people pay dues, or is it open to anybody?
Anybody. So we carry about 2 million different products from 650 different vendors. So anything from a material lift to a cement mixer to a storage box, it's a one-stop shop where you can get most of your products. So for any type of applications, whether it's plumbing, whether it's electrical, whether it's welding, we are that one-stop shop for people in the trades.
And so are you connecting people to those companies, for instance, or are you actually, reselling the products? In other words, do you have companies?
Yes.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we're a distributor of many different products. So we have manufacturers that we have accounts with for over the course of 24 years, and we ship the products right to the customers throughout the country.
And is there any restriction? I mean, do you have to be in the trades? Like, I'm a lawyer, I'm remodeling my bathroom. I can order my Moen faucet or whatever. I don't necessarily need to be a tradesman, or do I need to be a tradesperson?
No, it could be a business owner. It could be a consumer. It could be somebody in the trades. Anybody can order directly through us on our website, toolfetch.com.
And do you currently have an app? When I say an app,
we have a mobile site, but we do not have a true app that you can download.
And so basically, when you first started out, in the first 3 months, how many products did you have on there, or were you not even offering products at that time? When did you start offering products?
So we started offering power tools, your Milwaukee tools, your Bosch tools, the basic DeWalt tools. That's where we started. So we had to acquire accounts and have them understand what e-commerce was. Now, just picture back in 2001 trying to do that. It was an uphill battle, to be honest with you. But over time, that eased up, and obviously it's more accepted e-commerce today than it was back then. But that concept wasn't there because normally a manufacturer would only open up with a traditional distributor who has a warehouse of some sort or a storefront. And we weren't like that. So it was a little bit different, a little bit challenging, but we were able to sort of, do these exclusive deals with certain manufacturers or smaller manufacturers, and we just kind of built it up over a course of 20 plus years.
Well, that's a pretty interesting story. Now, how did you get the word out? Did you have to use? I mean, you tell me in the beginning that's easy, but at some point in time, you have to do some type of advertising or brand awareness. What kind of brand awareness did you do back then? Not today, but what did you do back then?
Yeah, back then it was emails. We did some catalogs. I mean, that's what people expected sort of back then as well. And then making phone calls. I mean, the phone worked back then. You called and someone picked up. Today it's a little bit different, but back then it was just pound the phones, email. There was very crude, I remember, basic advertising that you can do sort of back then. And it was just a slow burn. And then it just slowly started year after year to get a little bit bigger. Customers started to come back, more repeat customers, word of mouth, and then it just kind of took off from there.
So I know you're on tradespeople. Do you focus mainly on construction contractors, or is it pretty much beyond that category?
Well, it could be your residential plumber or commercial plumber. It's your electrician, again, commercial, residential, welders. Could be your contractor or your construction company. So it is a wide range. We don't just narrowly focus on one area. So we touch upon a lot of different trades that come into us daily. And so I'm always speaking to an electrician, a welder, whether online and doing my application stuff, but also just daily when they're calling in and asking for product.
We're going to be taking a quick break. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. And you know what this is all about. We're like no other station in the world.
You got it.
We are like no other station in the world. All right. My co-host, Traci, has a couple of questions. She said, Peter, when am I going to ask a question? So I said, all right, I'll take a step back. I don't want to – it's holiday season.
Like, let me have a moment. No.
In the sun.
When I was listening to you, Andrew, you were talking about so many of the interesting challenges that you faced in terms of how things have changed with technology and marketing and building e-commerce. But I also really want to get an in-depth, if you will, scope or perspective of what it was like for you, because you said, you believed in this business so much that you took a leap of faith. And that's just sometimes easier said than done. So what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced in terms of going from your, essentially your day job to jumping off the entrepreneurship cliff? And what are even some of the mindset challenges or some of the literal challenges that you faced in making that transition?
So my first year, we talk about a challenge. We didn't make any money. So you talk about a challenge. When you're coming out of, obviously, a stable paycheck and then going and having this belief and not making money, but to keep going because you believe in yourself and you believe in what you're going after, that you sort of get around that. And that was a huge, huge challenge, especially a new entrepreneur. Also just trying to gain knowledge back then. It's interesting, when I grew up, I was always told to do it myself. And when I look back on that, I say, you know what, that really wasn't good information that I got, because you need to reach out for help. You need mentors. You need people who can sort of guide you in your path, whatever journey you're on. And it took me probably about 15, 20 years before I had a mentor. But so I had to do my own research myself. But I think it was just, I'm one of those people, just you knock me down, I'm gonna come up. I'm gonna keep getting up. And I think you're sort of built as an entrepreneur. It's sort of in you that you have this drive and you have something that's pulling you. And I just always felt like, you know what? Who cares? You know what? We didn't make money. Of course, we need to live, but we're going to figure it out. And we did figure it out. So that was one of the biggest challenges right up front, which we both of us had to deal with as entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and none of that's really easy. But what I'm also hearing you say is that, having a mentor is a key piece of advice for people who are starting out. Like, not even just asking for help, but a lot of people, like, they work with coaches or they work with mentors, or how are you accessing, even today as your business is now so successful, are you still searching and seeking mentorship? Do you work with business coaches? How do you work and balance that need for help?
So a few years ago, I was out with a couple of friends, and there was some challenges in the business, and we kind of hit a ceiling. And I said to my friend, the business is kind of hitting a ceiling, and he uttered one word to me. He said, Vistage. And I said, what is a Vistage? He said, it's a group of CEOs that you can join, and they help each other try to get better from a knowledge standpoint and try to grow their business. I'm like, okay. And then I reached out, and then I ended up joining Vistage, which, again, it's a nationwide group of executives and CEOs. And I am in this group in New York where I meet with about 15 of us every single month. And we have a speaker. We also have a chair. And we listen to the speaker about any topic, something about growing your business, something about mindset. And then we talk as a group, and we always do check-ins. Basically, they ask us, how's your health? How are you doing personally? And how's your business? Because it all affects everything, whether your health is off, whether your business is not doing well. And I'll tell you, in those last 2 years, I've become a different person, because it's an extension of my board that I'm meeting with people in other industries, and I'm getting real-time feedback. And they are not afraid to give it to me, because they say it's lonely at the top and there's no one to talk to. Well, I have 15 other people to speak to, plus my chair, who's was a successful entrepreneur himself. So I am always a believer, and I say this all the time. I say it to my son as well. I'm like, you gotta get around the right people. You gotta get a good mindset and find a mentor, someone who's been there and done that. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. So I do that today. I have a handful of different mentors in different areas, and it's not about how, it's who is going to bring you to that next level.
I think that's such great advice, and I'm really hoping everyone who's listening today is really hearing that not only just how important it is that you ask for help, but then the who and getting help in the right area. I was having a conversation with a CEO of a company yesterday, actually, and he said he had a business coach, he had a health coach, he had a marriage coach. Now he has a podcast coach. I mean, it was just like, and I think that that's fabulous because, there's no shame in the game of asking for help, and there's a ton of upside. And to your point, like, you feel like you're a completely different person, and that's all and you say that all in such a positive way. So I think it's a huge takeaway to really embrace that and seek out the right structure for that. You mentioned your son, and I'm so glad you brought that up. As a dad, in raising children and being around other parents raising kids, what is the messaging to children in middle school, high school around the skilled trades? Like, what are some of the input that's being given to kids as they're making career choices and pathways to career choices? How are the skilled trades falling into that conversation?
I'll just share some statistics with both you and the audience for people who don't know about the skilled trade shortage and how this sort of ties in. So we need 330,000 welders by 2028. 153,000 welders are set to retire in the next 5 or 10 years. That's 82,500 welders we need every single year. We need 80,000 electricians every single year up to 2030. And that's just to replace electricians that are leaving the industry. For every 5 that are leaving, only 2 are coming in. We need 550,000 plumbers by 2030. I don't think anybody wants to wait 4 weeks for a plumber or electrician. And that's a part of what I do in my avocation when I speak to schools, or I am speaking to educators, or I'm speaking to parents, because kids need to make a decision today. And they need to decide whether they go the college route or they go an alternative route like the trades. And it's funny, when I look back in my own career, I went to college for 4 years, and I came out more confused coming out of school than I was in school. And I'm not against college. I think college is right for the right person. I think it's about deciding which direction you want to take. But when you start to take a look at debt in college versus a trades path, where if you are good with your hands and you have that technical spark, if you have that mechanical ability, maybe college is not right for you. You can start working right away, get an apprenticeship. You can start earning and learning at the same time. You can go to trade school. And somebody might have a better path and make more money going that route. So it's about sharing with kids what's possible in a blue-collar skilled trades. The old adage was there that it's, it might be, they say sometimes it's option B for kids. It's not option B. It's the right option for the kids who are interested in working with their hands. But it's a lucrative career path, and you can climb that ladder of success. And I could tell you stories and stories and stories of successful people who went into the trades, people who made changes from the corporate world to the blue-collar world and are just killing it. And it's just exciting to see that.
We are going to hear some more of that when we get back from our break, right, Peter?
That's right. A word from our sponsor. Ask Brien is proud to announce Legal Steps is our sponsor.
And we want to say thank you to Legal Steps. It's LEGALSTEPZ. It's spelled with a Z. .com. I think it's time that you make 2025 your year, right? At the start of every new year, everybody's got resolutions or they've got big plans, and you've had this big plan for this awesome business. People have been telling you for months, maybe years, that, hey, you should really start your own business. Or you've just had that little birdie in your ear, that little voice in the back of your head thinking, you know what, I need to do this. This is my next step in my path. And so make it 2025 that it happens for you. Legalsteps.com. You can take courses to register a trademark, form an S corporation, form an LLC. I took one of these courses a little while ago, and I really liked that I was able to do it at my own pace. That's huge for everyone. We all have our own things going on. Maybe you have another job. Maybe you have two jobs. You have kids. You have dogs. You have a spouse, whatever it might be. You certainly can't be worried about someone else's schedule and making sure that you're in a classroom somewhere on a Tuesday night right through dinner. You can work at your own pace and make this schedule work for you. I was able to do it on a Saturday morning. Everybody was nice and quiet and it was chill, and I could pause it. I could rewind it if I was kind of confused on something or didn't know if I answered the question the right way. I could work at my own pace. I also loved that as I'm working, I can see what I'm doing. I can see my expert on the screen and I could see their screen. So I knew that I was answering these questions the right way, because certainly sometimes some of this legalese can get a little confusing. And so I was confident in knowing like, oh, okay, great. I'm answering this question properly because I can see what my expert is doing. My experts, by the way, are attorneys with over 30 years experience. So you know that you're in good hands. You're not working with somebody who's green behind the ears or wet behind the ears. You know that somebody is really experienced in this. And if you get to the point where you're confused, they'll just do it for you. So you really have nothing to lose. Really, if we want to split hairs, the only thing you're going to be out is less than $150. That's how much each of the courses cost. And, times are tough, but don't let something like $150 get in the way of your dream of what you've always wanted to do. Go to legalsteps.com, legalstepz.com.
Thank you, Jen, and thank
You're
you to
welcome.
our sponsor.
You
All
got
right.
it.
All right. We're going to go back to our conversation. Tracy, you there?
Hey, so, Andrew, you were kind of alluding to this, and this was going to be my next question, is what are some of the mythbusters around the skilled trades? And it sounds like you have some really interesting success stories that you could share that could be impressionable to those people out there who may have a different opinion.
Yeah, the opinion out there, the opinion years prior is that, when it comes to trades jobs or blue-collar jobs, that it's, like I said, it's an option B for kids that maybe didn't do well in school. And that's not correct. There are a lot of opportunities today, especially today, for kids who want to work with their hands, who want to do interesting things. And you talk about success stories because, I'm thinking about 100 different kids right now. But I actually had somebody on the podcast, and his name is Kel Mauser, if I'm pronouncing his last name right. And he is a diesel mechanic. And he went to Skilled USA, which is like a competition. It's like the Olympics for skilled trades. And he competes with, I think it was 20 other kids. And this is a huge show down in Atlanta. And when you win your competition, it's like winning a gold medal. And from there, he was able to go overseas and represent America for an event overseas for being a diesel mechanic. And that led him to work with very large manufacturers. And now he's sort of set up for success. He's only 23 years old. I mean, it's unbelievable the things that he's done in a very short period of time at being at a young age. But he knew he wanted to get into this side of the business of working with his hands. And he's passionate. And I was like, wow, it's unbelievable about some of these kids of what they can do, especially when they have the drive and they're good at what they do when they're working with their hands. That's just one example of someone who's really taken it to the max. And you get to represent the U.S. Overseas. It's just unbelievable.
That's amazing. So tell me a little bit about the Skilled Trades Advisory Council.
So about a year and a half ago, I was approached by a gentleman named Rob Alman, and he was forming a foundation, which is right up my alley, to advocate for the skilled trades. And it's the Skilled Trades Advisory Council, and it's myself and 8 other members. 7 of them are women. I mean, these women are doing wonderful, wonderful things in the industry, and they're all doing their own individual programs. But the mission of STAC is to recruit, retain, and advocate for the trades. So we work with industry leaders, we work with educators to come up with programs to give back to schools and give resources where resources are needed for programs in schools for kids to get into the trades. We're going to eventually start opening up where we're going to start giving scholarships to trade schools, to kids who afford those opportunities. So it's really exciting what we're doing in a very short period of time, and it's called the Skilled Trades Advisory Council, skilledtradesadvisorycouncil.com if you want to take a look. A little bit more about who's on the foundation, a little bit more about us.
I was just going to mention and ask, how do the women fit into this role of advocacy for skilled trades? So I would love to, in 60 seconds or less, just have you share maybe one of the most impactful things you've seen advancing on the female side of things.
We're going to have to hold that off because we're going to be taking a quick break.
Okay.
So he'll hold
I thought
that
we
off.
had the 60 seconds, but back to it.
4 seconds. Okay. You listen to the Ask Brien show on KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM, but we're going to have a big, big drum roll when he gets back to give the answer. Thank you very much, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM, and we're back. Now, Andrew has to answer that big question. Traci, do you need to repeat it?
I will repeat it. So can you give us one exciting example of how this movement has really impacted the women in the industry?
So there are only about 3 to 4% of women in the trades. And we're working hard to get more women in the trades because that will obviously help with the shortage. There are, oh my God, there are so many women out there doing amazing things in the trades. And I think of people, and I think of a woman by the name of Barbie the welder, who's a sculptor. And if you've never seen her works of art in metal, you have to look her up, Barbie the welder. And she's a sculptor, and she just takes metal and just forms them into these amazing works of art. And women like her, women like Jamie McMillan, who's an iron worker up in Canada, they are trying to get women in the trades, and they're showcasing exactly what they can do with their hands, and they're making a good living, and they're just giving back to the trades. Those are examples of women who are doing great things in the industry.
I love that. That's a whole other episode I'd love for us to do together. And this has just been so fantastic. We were talking off the mic, and I was like, I really appreciate this thoughtful conversation because I just love hearing all this data and all these statistics and all these opportunities that are ahead for the skilled trades for sure. So I know if I've loved it this much that everyone else has and would love to explore more opportunities and connect with you. What is the best way for people to continue this conversation with you, Andrew?
On social media, you can find me, Andrew Brown Trades, on TikTok. I am on LinkedIn under my own name, Andrew Brown. Our YouTube channel called Toolfetch. I'm also andrewbrown.net is one of my hubs. Also, the Lost Art of the Skilled Trades podcast, which is on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and other platforms as well, where we bring on tradespeople and we talk about the trade shortage and the things that we can do out there. Also, toolfetch.com. If you're looking for products and different brands, we're here to help.
Yeah, because we love to support our entrepreneurs and our experts on the Ask Brien radio show, that's for sure. And those were a lot of really great ways to get in touch. So all of those links to everything that Andrew mentioned will be in the show notes of the Ask Brien podcast. And if you're really wanting to just go back and listen to some of the data statistics, get more information on how you can be an advocate for the skilled trades or get into the skilled trades yourself, then you're going to want to go and find the Ask Brien. Of course, that's AskBrien, the podcast, on all your favorite listening platforms. And we still have time for maybe at least one more question. Peter?
Thank you, Trace. So the question is, you mentioned, that you feel you missed out on mentorships in the beginning, and that now you have these great mentorships, and that's why that can help you out and help out any business. My question is, it's all based on the quality of that mentor, right? If I pick Bozo the Clown as my mentor, I'm probably not going to go too far. So how do you determine who's a good mentor, and how do you find a good mentor?
That's a great question, because if you are with somebody who has not given you the right advice, which I have in the past, and I honestly, I've had that in the past, but it's all about doing your research, right? Speaking to other people that have worked with that individual in the past, worked in the past. It's about seeing what kind of work that they actually do. What are the results that they can actually bring? And it's about speaking to other people and sort of word of mouth. I didn't just work with certain mentors just like I did my due diligence first. So it's all about doing your due diligence. It's all about speaking to people they've worked with in the past, seeing the results that they can bring. And sometimes, look, it may not work out, and that's fine. You might need to part ways. But you'll find that special person that's going to change your life. So don't ever give up on mentorship.
Now, on these mentorships, are they typically paid mentorships or just like, hey, I'm going to help you out?
It's a combination of both. Some will charge for it. Some are just willing to give their time. And, it's hard because you're like feeling like you're asking for help and you want to give back to something. But some people are just there. They just want to help. They want to see someone take it to the next level. And I'm so appreciative of those people who have definitely helped me throughout my journey.
So we have 1 minute left. And so the question is, what was the biggest challenge your business faced?
COVID. It was, luckily our business is essential during COVID, but it was a challenge with the supply chain. When things started to when the whole supply chain backed up, it was very difficult to get product. It was a challenge in our business. Obviously, we've sort of moved through that. But just to get products and tell people, well, it's going to be about 2 months before you see your product is not something someone wants to hear when they need something on the job site. But we were all dealing with it at that time, and we were